This was the point. This was the this is the critical point, and this was a critical juncture in the whole U.S. North Korea talk, where the South Korea's president Moon Jae-In seized his opportunity and stepped onto the stage while identifying himself as a possible mutual intermediary between Mr. Trump and Kim Jong-un, voluntarily to bring President and Kim back to a negotiating table. South Korea President Moon Jae-in hooked President Trump back into talks with the North Korea's Kim Jong-un by suggesting that if he goes back to the negotiating table with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, there is a good chance, with high probability, that President Trump will receive the Nobel Peace Prize if he brings Kim to give up his nuclear armaments through peaceful talks. Then, only a few days after President Trump canceled a meeting with Kim in early June of 2018, last year, he made another quick turnabout in his decision and announced that he was going back to meeting him in Singapore on June 12th last year. But this was when he began to make fatal mistakes in his efforts to bring Kim to abandon his illicit nuclear programs. The main cause of his first fatal mistake was that President Trump he relied on his own skills of deal making. Believing in his own words, written in the book he authored, Art of Deal, he was overconfident that he thought he was ready and more than able to meet up with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, and single-handedly he could destroy Kim's hope of nuclearizing North Korea in a one single chop. But when he actually sat down with Kim in Singapore summit, he was totally tricked and deceived by Kim and his negotiation team members, including those familiar faces who tricked and deceived many of President Trump's predecessors in similar disappointing U.S.-North Korea meetings and talks that bore absolutely no results of good for the U.S., but allowed North Korea regime to buy time through delay tactics to further develop and test their nuclear capabilities over the past 20 to 30 years, since the reign of Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il. President Trump, the author of the book Art of Deal, was tricked and deceived by North Korean liars and deceivers simply because he had overconfidence in his wits and premature deal-making skills of author of the famous book Art of Deal himself, and did not thoroughly prepare himself and his negotiation team by duly doing his absolutely needed pre-meeting homework assignments. Because he did not do his homework assignments before the summit, he could not catch the difference between denuclearization of North Korea and denuclearization of Korean Peninsula, as it was written in the Singapore Summit Agreement certificate. He was totally blinded by South Korea's President Moon Jae-in's trick that he replaced the words North Korea with Korean Peninsula. The sneaky and crafty President of South Korea, Moon Jae-in, knew that there was a huge difference between these two phrases. Denuclearization of North Korea meant the US and the whole world demanded North Korea was to give up their entire nuclearization attempt and become a nuke-free nation, whereas denuclearization of Korean Peninsula meant North Korea would be willing to give up their nuclear programs and nuclear armaments already developed, live, and ready to be launched. Nuclear armaments, only if the US is willing to walk in a parallel path by giving up all of our US nuclear armaments, both based in the US soil and based elsewhere in the whole world, including warship launchable tactical nuclear missiles deployable to Korean Peninsula if the war breaks out. Without knowing this trickery by South Korean President Moon Jae-in, President Trump blindfoldedly signed on the Singapore Summit Agreement. At this point, I want to take a pause. And resume in after a brief break. Okay, thank you.